So happy holidays from Poolside Perspective podcast. So we thought we'd get in the mood with the studio here and the stockings all hung with care and everything. So we just wanted to wish you guys a Merry Christmas and happy holidays. So we've got a great episode this week. But any fun things that took place for you this week?
Well, I didn't watch the game, but they won. The Cowboys won, and I'm wearing a Cowboys Santa hat, so getting in the holiday spirit right now. But that was exciting. It was a real laid back weekend for me. It was pretty cold, but out of nowhere we got a little warm flash. But hopefully it's cold soon again. I like the cold.
Well, if we're gonna ski in January, it's got to get cold somewhere.
Yeah, it needs to snow somewhere. So it's not gonna snow here, but we'll go where it snows.
Well, hopefully. It was great. I finally puppy deliveries were completed.
Oh yeah.
So we're down to
2.
Well, by the time we get home, it's 1.
Oh wow. Okay. Cool.
So they're all gone.
Uno más.
They're forever homes, and we finally were able to get our Christmas lights up, which is quite a production at the Farley residence. So we really get into Christmas lights, probably because of all the oak trees in front of the house. So we hang these huge lighted Christmas balls on them.
Yeah, giant Christmas ornaments that light up.
Y'all do the do the music, turn it to a specific radio station, and you can hear music along with your lights?
No, our lights don't dance or anything like that. It's just these balls are about 18 inches around, and there's about 40 of them hanging from the trees.
So
80 up feet in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not 80 feet in the air.
They're pretty high up there.
They're high up there.
Maybe 40.
Anyway, we throw a baseball with a fishing line tied to it and over the branches and hoist them all up all the time. So it's a lot of fun. So maybe we'll include a picture of the Farley crazy Christmas lights. But anyway, speaking of crazy, our guest that's going to be here this week is someone that has been in the industry a long time, and he has a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no telling what we will get into today with Scott. So, howdy, sir.
Hello.
Howdy.
How are you? You're looking very fit and tan.
Yeah, I just got back from Nevis.
Yes. Was that a fun adventure?
It was a fun adventure. I was there with the folks from Hayward Pools.
Right.
And there's nothing more fun for my wife than to hang out with, 300 pool builders who like to talk about, pools. Right?
Yes. Laura gets to do that a lot of times too, also. So it's, but at least you get to do it in a great setting.
Oh yeah, it was a great time. It was really actually very nice. I've never been there. I never even heard of it before.
I have never heard of it.
Yeah.
Today, what we would love to do is learn from your wisdom that you have from all your experiences, because you've been at this about as long as I have, which it's funny. We used to be the young guys in the industry.
When I first started doing this job was, 35 years ago. And I had to convince people that even though I was young, that I was, could handle a project of their scale, they could trust me with it. And then at some point in your career, you start working for people your own age. That feels a little weird.
Right.
And then you start working for people younger than you. Don't get any of your references to The Princess Bride or Airplane or Blazing Saddles. They don't know what the hell you're talking about. And now I feel kind of like the altar cocker out there going, well, back in my day, we had landlines and we would call people, and, it's different.
It is different. So it's always interesting to talk to somebody about how they got to where they're at. So do you mind sharing us, how did that journey begin?
Gosh, I grew up in the landscape business. My parents had a fertilizing and chemical care business. And I grew up in the summers riding my bicycle to the office to get a summer job, answering the phones and talking to people about plants and flowers and how to kill weeds in their lawn and treating trees for insects and that sort of thing. So I kind of learned it quite a bit. And then I got a real job working for Target stores. And I was working in the nursery. and learning a little bit about horticulture and plants and caring for those, and the nursery business. Really, really, really enjoyed Christmas tree lots. Loved working the tree lots. That's a great time. Everybody's in a good mood when they're buying a tree, and everybody
Oh, yeah.
yelling about anything. So that was a lot of fun. And I eventually ended up running all the nurseries in LA and Ventura County for the Dayton Hudson Corporation for Target stores. And I was the youngest exec they had in the country. And they actually used to call me the Jewish Christmas tree king. I sold more Christmas trees in 4 weeks than anybody had. I love that part of the business. So I really did enjoy that.
It's
And
fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how I kind of ended up in the landscape business.
So when I was in college, I had a landscape maintenance business. I sold my landscape maintenance business. I had 2 employees when I was 18.
Yeah.
And I sold it and went to work for a nursery because I was studying landscape architecture, and I figured landscape architects need to know plants. Little did I find out later on that that was not true. Well, you didn't have to learn as many as I thought you had to.
Right.
But to get the job, I went to work in their tree lot. That was how I got on initially in November, and they said that they were going to keep one guy, one of the part-time guys from the tree lot, to stay for and work in the garden center with the fertilizer and insecticides and all that stuff afterwards. And I was able to sell more Christmas tree stands and trees and all that stuff than everybody else, and so I got to stay, and then eventually ended up in their landscape division. So anyway,
it's a similar story. I left out the 2 years where I had my own gardening business that I called Dr. Scott's Custom Landscape Maintenance. I don't know why I thought I was a doctor, but that's what I called it. And I was doing great until I had to leave for a couple weeks on a vacation, and left the business with a friend of mine, and he just destroyed it in 2 weeks. So that's when I had to go work for Target stores after that.
Gotcha. Well, so I got lucky with my 2 employees. They took care of me when I took off running all over the place and backpacking and all that stuff in the mountains. But anyway, yes, similar story. So how did so you went back to work after Target with your dad?
So the green scene, it was primarily a chemical care business, and they had a landscape division, and the landscape division guy split. So they needed a landscaper, and so I'd made a deal with my family that I would leave Target and go work with the family business, and that's what I did. And that was 35 years ago. I worked with family for 10 years, and it was miserable. Like, we really, really did not get along. I'm a designer, and he's a chemical engineer. And so he wanted to spray more chemicals, and I wanted to design landscapes, and the subcontractors that we were working with at the time were so infuriating when it came to hardscapes and swimming pools. And so I found myself involved in every single aspect of the construction on the swimming pool. And if I had to be there for layout, and I had to be there for the excavation, I had to be there for the steel, and I had to follow up on the shotcrete, and I needed to make sure the lights were placed in the right place, there was no reason to subcontract it anymore.
Right.
And so, I had my landscape contractor's license, and I just added my pool contractor's license and then my general contractor's license. So, I carry all 3 now.
So do you, as a designer, are you doing more landscape work or pool work, or is it all encompassing?
I personally think it has to be all encompassing. I don't see the division. I can't imagine. I know there's a lot of guys out there who just do the swimming pool part of it, or they just do the hardscape part of it. But it's kind of like saying, here, I want you to paint this picture for me, but I only want you to use 3 colors. You can't do that. There's too many different aspects to it. And the swimming pool is one element for sure.
Right.
But the reflective water can show off this particular tree lit a certain way, can look great from this angle, but that tree has to have the right texture and the right color, and it has to be at the right time of year that it's blooming in order for that effect to all come about. And so I think good backyard design involves the landscape, the hardscape, certainly the swimming pool, but the structures and lighting too. I think it plays a major part in it.
Oh, 100%. That's probably the part that's growing even more and more in our industry is lighting. People are understanding the capabilities of how much you can affect a space, and that, people are at home at night much more than they are during the daytime for a lot of families.
Especially as these projects get more expensive, they have to work longer hours to pay for them. So, a lot of folks only see their yards at night, unfortunately, and it's really, really important, because lighting allows you to highlight the things you want to show off, but it also gives you an opportunity to hide the things you don't want to see. So you can paint a completely different picture at night than you have during the day.
Oh yeah.
And some of the new lights that we have in the pool industry, like being able to use some of these LED, strip lights and things in the water and submersed, creates a whole new area of lighting. I mean, we're all kinds of opportunities that we really didn't have before. If someone has a few dollars in their budget to be able to spend for it.
You have this company, you've been doing it for 35 years. The one thing, I've followed your work for a long, long time. And one of my favorite projects that you did a long time ago was a pirate ship that you did in somebody's backyard. And I remember that the dinghy was the spa from a shape standpoint. I mean, you've done some really creative things over the years, which all that stuff's not on your website. I guess the question that I have is, how have you developed your design style over a period of time? Because it's changed.
My title at the office here is garden artisan. I am not just president of green scene or what have you. It's garden artisan. And I like to be able to use the different hobbies and skills in different ways. So that particular project that you're talking about, I took a couple of years of ceramics in college, okay? And that's all I took in college, by the way. But it was ceramics class, and we did a lot of casting, and we built molds, and I threw pottery, and I did a lot of sculpture. And so now at home, my garage is a ceramic studio. And I have my own kilns, and I can make my own tiles for swimming pools and casting molds. What we did with that ship is we actually created, what you would do nowadays for foam board concrete. We built that part of the boat and then just shotcreted up against it, and then using acid chemical stains and waterproofing, we tinted it so it looked like an old boat. It was kind of funny because when the startup guy got there, he called me up and he's like, "Hey man, you can't use real wood on this stuff. The chemicals are going to eat this alive. I don't know who told you this," and then blah, 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 blah. He was laying into me. Like, dude, just go tap on it. That's not real wood, And he was laughing, and I was laughing about it too, because that's a great compliment.
Very much so.
But it's like with the ceramic stuff, I cast one of my clients. They wanted a bronze kind of mermaid for their side yard, a fountain feature. And she says, "But they're just so ugly, I said, "Oh, well, we can cast you as the mermaid." She says, "What?" I said, "Yeah. If you're cool being topless, I can cast you as the mermaid and the whole thing." And they're like, "Yeah, let's do that." So they're probably wondering why I had to be naked at the same time, but it's my hobby, right? But actually I cast her face, and then I cast her upper body topless, and then I wrapped her legs in saran wrap to create the tail. And then I hand sculpted as a 7-foot long ceramic tile mermaid in 4 pieces. And I made seashell covers for the breasts when they had company over, and that's why you got to keep it, PG when you need to. And I glazed the whole thing in a patina glaze, made it look like an old bronze sculpture. It's pretty cool.
So in some cases, the cabana's already built. There's no heaters. They decided they weren't going to put a heater in because they didn't think they needed one. Or the other situation is they didn't have the amperage to pull the heater off, or they didn't want to do the gas runs to it. So this would be the solution?
This is the option. So we do have dead spaces on porches. There's always for heating opportunities. This fulfills that need. This is an amazing heater. It's really popular. The old mushroom heaters that you would see, you would go out and have a nice glass of wine under, those are passé. They're the thing of the past. This is what you're seeing now. You'll see it if you're in Fort Worth, if you go to the Drury Hotel, or if you go to the Velvet Taco in South Lake, you'll see these heaters. They cover a 16 by 13 footprint pattern.
Wow.
That allows 215 square feet of heating. That's direct body. It's infrared heat. Another value-added piece is the heat shield on top. This gives me a 14-inch tolerance. I can be up a 9-foot ceiling underneath this, and this will protect the heat as far as the combustion zone to keep it away from that.
So is there a tank under here? Is that how that works?
So it comes in natural gas or it comes in propane. The body is really slender, sexy looking. Doesn't look like a tank would fit in there, but it does. There's a tank door on the back side. The tank would actually go inside of the unit. I think customers ask us, hey, how long do they last? Anywhere from 12 to 14 hours on a tank.
Okay, so nice, several nice evenings out by the grill and the dining area.
Right. Also, if you have drop screens and you have a small footprint porch, it's hard to get gas up underneath that porch and have drop screens, just because we have to worry about carbon monoxide poisoning. So this becomes a mobile solution. I can lift those screens up. I can mobilize these units to that defined area where I want to entertain at. When I'm done, I can shut them off and put them back into to the corners and things like that.
So is this difficult to move?
It is not. It has 2 wheels in the back. Glad you mentioned that. Very robust, heavy wheels. It just tilts on its back. The tank can be in there also when you do that, and it's very mobile. You can move it from point A to point B.
So the perfect thing for this fall, winter, and spring.
Absolutely.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
So my dad said that you had some projects on HGTV back in the day, and I'm trying to piece it together. So you worked with your family for 10 years. So did that happen like after that? When did that happen? And can you talk about that experience in general? Because I mean, content creation nowadays is huge. Everyone does it, but back in the day, that's kind of ahead of its time. And you see HGTV do a lot of projects these days, and a lot of our customers watch that when they're trying to get in the process of figuring out what they actually want. So it's kind of cool to talk to someone that's done that.
Yeah, it was fun. I guess the first show I did with HGTV was called Landscapers Challenge. And I did that when I was 30 years old, so that's 28 years ago.
Okay.
And of course, we won the Landscapers Challenge. And then I did a show with them called Property Buzz, which was the latest on property trends and things outdoors. And then we did outdoor design for the sexes. They had a special series on designing outdoors for the sexes, which was kind of fun to be part of. I worked for a couple that were the writers for the Barney show.
Oh, what?
Now you're too young to know who Barney is, but Mike's not. And Barney, they had no children of their own. So it was kind of odd that they were writing these children's stories with no kids. But anyhow, that was a fun one.
Was it a purple pool?
We did big. What's that?
Did they have a purple pool?
No, we did a spa only there.
Yeah,
no
okay.
purple pool.
Okay.
But I did get a signed autographed picture from Barney, which I gave to my daughter, Kenzie, who was at the time so excited about it. And if she heard me talk about it now, would be so horrified that I said that publicly.
Was he in the suit when he signed it, or was it?
I didn't see him sign it. I just got the picture handed to me.
Oh, okay.
So
I got you.
we did a top 10 pools show with them called Big Splash with HGTV's kind of a countdown. And we had 3 projects featured on that show. That was fun. And then we did a show called Get Out, Way Out. And this was kind of interesting because they followed my teams for about 3 years. And we did 11 or 12 episodes of Get Out, Way Out. And these were kind of over the top projects. We were working mostly in Calabasas, and they were, 60-foot slides and swim up bars and infinity edge pools and rim flow pools, kind of earlier than we were seeing them anywhere else. And it was really fun to be part of that process. and we enjoyed doing that. And then kind of 2009, I think the economy slowed down a bit, and they didn't want to show $300,000 or $400,000 or $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 projects on television right then. They're like, Scott, what do you got for us that's under $100,000? Like, oh, don't have much.
Right.
Not that it has a pool in it, no.
That's funny because you'd think it'd be the other way around. Like you'd think they would want to see something that's unattainable. I don't know.
They were starting to get that feedback online, you know. People
Yeah.
would be like, oh, you know, this is great for rich people in California, but what about the rest of us?
Yeah.
You know, I think it was Mike Farley who was making those comments at the time. Kind of strong.
No, I was back in 08 and 09 is during the recession. That's when I got to do some of my first really fun work because the people that I worked with still had money.
That's
So,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, we had some pinch time during that time, but that was fine. We had backlogs from the years before, so it worked out all right. But that was a fun program, and continued working with them. I think in a show called Ground Rules, and then we did Cool Pools, and I think that's when we first got to see Mike.
Yes.
Mike and I on the same programs
Right.
with Cool Pools, and then I think that was followed by Ultimate Pools.
Right.
And then I don't know if you've done any of the Bodacious backyard programs, but we did some of those. Are we allowed to say Bodacious?
Sure.
Oh, good. All right. Well,
What's wrong with bodacious?
what's
Ask-
Bodacious mean? Is that what he said?
No, ask
Yeah,
Scott.
yeah. What's wrong with that? That's what we used to call our church minister. Bodacious was his nickname. So I'm like curious, like what's wrong with that nickname or that name in general?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
North Texas and California is different, a little different too.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, we set the trends in California.
that's exactly right. You know,
You guys are probably you're not wearing Hammerman pants and jelly shoes anymore, but that's all started here. So, you know, the television stuff was fun, and it really did help us get creative. We certainly found some clients that wanted to be part of doing something special, and that helped grow our business. It also hurt our business too, because people just naturally assumed that you were very expensive just because you're on TV.
Oh.
And it really, that had nothing to do with it. We price our work based on what we need to in order to provide quality materials and stand behind our work. But I think there was definitely pros and cons to it. But it was fun, right? Like, it's fun to do it with the TV and the staff, and everybody gets a little bit of, you get some accolades from being on TV.
oh sure, and the clients enjoy it, being able to show what fun things that they've done. So it's I think it's a great thing for building dreams for people's backyards, is just to be able to see, you know, what's different. So it's just
For sure.
the industry has changed so much in the time, and we both got started about the same time in it. And so, I mean, when I first started, we were doing just swimming pools, and now we build resorts, you know,
Right.
in people's backyards. It's not just a pool. In fact, I've got lots of clients that are like, I'll never swim in it. You know,
Yeah.
this is a piece of art. This is a place to hang out with our friends. This is a place to be social. We don't swim, Mike. It's like, okay, not a problem. I'll create whatever works best for you. So
For sure.
one of the things that I know you've written a number of books as well. You're a Renaissance man. You've done all kinds of different things. So, but the one thing that I've always enjoyed in going to classes that you've taught is on outdoor kitchens. And you know, can you share, you know, your thought process on, you know, is that an important part of the backyard, or is it just something you put, is it kind of a little niche thing that's over here in the corner? I mean, how do you talk to your clients about outdoor kitchens in that space that you create?
Yeah, the books that I've written over the years have come about from, quite frankly, just being frustrated, trying to learn how to do it myself as I was coming up through the industry. Is like, where's all this information on outdoor kitchen design? I can't find it.
You can find
You know,
more.
how do you, yeah.
You find more on outhouses or tree forts.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, where's this information at? Same challenge.
It's crazy. And the same thing, outdoor fireplaces, fire pits, how to build them. I can't find the information anywhere. Where is it? And outdoor cast concrete countertops. Nobody was doing them yet at the time when we started writing those books. And so I think we have 8 books out altogether now, Petscaping and Poolscapes and Candid Contractor, which is all about construction defects. But outdoor kitchens is one of my favorite things to design. And it's kind of the same thing going back to Christmas trees, right? Because when people are out at the barbecue, they're there to have a good time. It's all about when you, and I'm sure, Mike, this is what all of our designs come down to fundamentally, is you're designing space for people to entertain, hang out as a family, and enjoy each other. And you can't say, well, what we're going to do is we're just going to talk and eat. But that's really what the clients are doing, right? They're not swimming in the pools.
Right.
They're not getting laps in. They're not, they're eating and they're drinking in the backyard. And so we create these environments and these outdoor rooms where people can hang out and eat and drink and tell stories and share life's experiences.
About making memories.
That's it. And it's, it really is a good time. So, and when you're around food, I think, and fire, that goes back fundamentally to the beginning of man, right? We sat around the fire. It was time to eat. We told stories, and that's what we're building in backyards today. The outdoor kitchen or barbecue counter, or whatever you want to call it, right? We call it barbecuing here in California, but most of the time we're really just grilling. And I know people make fun of us here in California for lots of reasons, including our politics, but a lot of people are just really grilling. And I like to try to get my clients a little bit more involved in really barbecuing, low and slow with a lot of smoke and that sort of thing, get them out there and get them enjoying the whole cooking process. The outdoor kitchen is the central hub of the backyard. No matter what you do, people hang out around the food. When you have company over, you can put out potpourri and candles and appetizers and things all over your house, and they're in the kitchen.
Right.
They're just hanging out in the kitchen. It's always a problem. Get out of the kitchen, go. I had to clean the whole house for you. Everybody was in a panic before you came over. I had to clean the whole house, and they're in the kitchen. And it's just human behavior. And I think fundamentally one of the things that I've learned in designing backyard space, or any space really, is not to fight human nature. Instead of trying to fight it or force people to be in a certain area, just acknowledge that this is how people like to entertain. This is how they like to hang out. Sometimes clients will tell me they want this giant patio with a big area for lots of tables and chairs, but that's not how people really entertain. They almost always break into smaller groups of 6 to 8, and tell a story about the deal they got at Costco, or talk about politics, or tell a joke, or what have you. But they need to be in smaller groups. So I create different outdoor rooms where there's people can go to hang out. And that's the natural way people entertain.
100%. So you're going to have a kitchen. Are you going to create dining spaces and like the fire pit area and everything that kind of revolve around that? Is that when you say it's kind of the hub?
Well, people hang out by the food. So I think you want to make sure that your kitchen area has lots of flow around it. People can get up, it drives my wife nuts when we get to a party and it's an outdoor backyard or something like that. I'll stand in the corner for just a moment and scan the space, and I'm checking it out. And it drives me nuts when there's situations set up where you're carrying a plate and you get a drink and you got to back up through a crowd. That's just poor planning.
Right.
I like to make sure there's plenty of flow through around that area. Go get your, this is where we're going to set up the food. This is where we're going to set up the bartender. These are conversations that should be had ahead of time, understanding how much your client's going to entertain. Some people don't have that many people over, but if they're going to have a lot of people over, then let's make sure we're accommodating them with plenty of counter space, lots of lighting where they're going to be entertaining, make sure they have the appliances that they need to have to accommodate larger groups. And I think you got to be careful not to bottleneck, right? So if you have your outdoor kitchen as the central hub, your fire feature becomes a go-to destination, right? That's an area where I might step aside and go to that area separately. I might even have my cigar smokers over there, not next to the food.
Right.
And dining, of course, needs to be close to the outdoor kitchen, but not block the flow from the indoors to the outdoors.
When you are barbecuing, do you have a favorite feature that you like to incorporate for them to barbecue with, or are you just trying to get an idea of what they might want on their appliance list, or what do you see as popular features today? Because it's changed again a lot. I mean, it used to be,
right,
give me a grill, and that was it. And so, today we get into all kinds of different things. What's popular in California in the outdoor kitchen?
Well, you really need a client that's willing to go out there and expand their horizon a little bit, and not just grill, not just use a stainless steel grill.
Right.
I like to encourage clients to rotisserie cook. I think using a rotisserie is one of the best ways to entertain. How many times have you had company over and you're cooking on the grill and you're doing all this, and I turn around and everybody's gone. They ate the food and they're gone. I had several jokes I was going to tell. I didn't even get around to telling them that day because everybody's gone.
Right.
And so rotisserie cooking is what I like to do when I have people over, and I try to encourage my clients to try it too. All your food prep is done ahead of time, right? It's all seasoned, everything's going ahead of time.
Right.
I can put it on a low smoke. Like the grill that I have has an interior gear-driven motor.
Right.
So it doesn't have that box sitting on the side.
Right.
And it's a commercial grill, so it'll handle 120 pounds on the spit. So I might cook some turkey. I cooked turkeys this last Thanksgiving, spun those on the smoker. But I'll cook turkey breasts or fillets or whatever on the rotisserie, and I'll put it on smoke for just a couple hours first. And now human nature, like it or not, when you smell cooking, you start to salivate a little bit. You start to get excited about it. And now this is 2 hours before I'm going to serve it, maybe more. And then about maybe 45 minutes to an hour before it's ready to serve, I'll put the heat on the rotisserie, not just the smoke. And now everybody's excited about it. When it comes out, it's always near perfect. So I like to get people cooking on the rotisserie. I like a lot of these, what I'll call dome grills, or I'll call them big green eggs or something equivalent, right? Komodo style cooking, where you're cooking in a large pot with lump coal on the bottom. This is great for cooking pizzas. You don't have to spend $10,000 on a pizza oven. You can throw some wood chips in an egg and get an authentic wood-fired pizza oven flavor pizza for the cost of a hand of wood chips. It's fun too. I think that's part of it. When you cook pizzas at home, that's a great way to entertain and get families involved. I don't know about your household, but I've got 4 daughters, right? I got a vegetarian. I got a pescatarian. She only eats the little pez candies. I got a lactose intolerant one. I got this one doesn't eat meat, but it sometimes does. But sometimes, it's getting hard to feed these people.
I'm lucky. Mine are all carnivores.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes when you have company over, somebody doesn't eat cheese or somebody doesn't.
Right.
So I like the pizzas because here you go. Here's a half a roll of dough or whatever. You roll it out, put whatever you want on it, and then we can cook it and drink some wine and tell some stories, and we can have some fun. And that's one of the things I really like to see people use their outdoor kitchens for is their own pizza party. Now, my girls have all gone to college and graduated, but when they come home, they're like, hey, can we do a pizza party? So it's a memory they have from being younger, and they really enjoy it.
Yeah. Mine always want me to cook ribs. So anyway, pizza's much faster.
It is.
Do you ever use a Santa Maria grill?
Santa Maria, we went through a phase of Santa Maria grills about 20 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I just installed a really couple nice Santa Maria style grills. The client needs to be into their barbecue, in order to do that. And when you find that client, there's certainly room for them, and they sure look a lot better than they did when we first installed them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I did one, God, I'd say it's 20 years ago. And what we did is we built an outdoor fireplace for the client, and we put a Santa Maria style grill inside the fireplace, and it went up into the fire box, and it just had a crank on the side.
Right.
So you could crank it up, just use the smoke from whatever was cooking below, or put more wood underneath it. And it was a lot of fun. The client really enjoyed it. And it was kind of a novelty. It was cool and custom and all that. And it wasn't hard to do. But now we're not allowed to burn wood outdoors in California because it's not environmentally friendly. So.
Oh, okay.
That makes sense.
Didn't know that one. So there are some special things that you have to do in California, or some things that you can't do in California. So the podcast is for people in different parts of the country. So since we brought that up, is there other things that they need to be aware of in working in California that might be a little bit different?
Well, one of the things we're really worried about going into 2025 is that there's a big push in California from the decarb commissions to pull natural gas out of the backyard.
Wow.
And so they're actually have set some laws in California that are being challenged right now, but a lot of home builders right now are building homes without natural gas service to the house. So this becomes a real challenge for us in California moving forward in heating our pools, because we're not going to have the natural gas heater, barbecuing, having fire features, right?
Right.
And it's kind of like taking a big step back to the Stone Age, where we're going to have to use propane tanks in order to feed these features. And yeah, I'm a chairman of the California Pool and Spa Association, and I've been working hard with the CARB board to make them understand just how restrictive these new laws are.
I can imagine like just sitting by a fire pit and having to refill propane for just that. Like I get a grill because I'm a young guy. The grill I had wasn't expensive at all, so I've been there, done that. But just refilling it just to use a fire pit, a grill, all the fire features, that sounds a little annoying, I don't know.
Yeah, well, Mike, we've seen fire features grow and grow and grow as a trend, right?
Oh yeah, it was non-existent when we started, but it's integral to I would say 75% of the projects I do today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very surprised when somebody isn't interested in a fire feature. Fire, it not only adds warmth, obviously, and ambiance, but it's relaxing, right? When you're sitting down around a fire, unless your house is on fire, well, that's different.
That would cause a little stress.
Yeah. I was sitting around the outdoor fireplace, fire pit with my family, and we're sitting there, and the girls are all making s'mores, right? And this is one of the reasons fire features exist, because 90 million pounds of marshmallows are consumed each year. 45 of those million are roasted over an open fire. That's a lot of marshmallows. And we were getting into that argument that you have on whether it's a half a chocolate bar or a whole chocolate bar that goes on to the s'more when you're finished, right? So everybody's holding their skewers with their marshmallows on it, and we hear sirens from the house like next door, and the fire truck comes around, and then we hear another fire truck come around, and we all run outside to see what's going on. And just one house away from mine, in the cul-de-sac, their house is on fire. The people are standing out in the street, and the house is burning, and they're looking at this, and they look over at us with such disdain. Like, why are they so angry? And I realize we're all standing there with our sticks with the marshmallows on them.
Looks like you're ready to go.
Oh, yeah. It's not a true story, but it's a fun story to tell.
Yeah. It sounds good.
Roast marshmallow on your neighbor's house. That'd be crazy.
No, we I mean, we as a family backpacked a lot. And so the campfire situation creates lots of memories for us. And so the cool thing is, to have a campfire in the backyard that you're not obliterated by smoke, with natural wood burning was a nice thing. And then you don't have to clean up the mess afterwards. So, I mean, it's really cool what fire features are today.
You talking about the smokeless fire pit?
No, I'm just talking about a gas-fired fire pit in general.
Okay.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
Not gonna have
Yeah,
to go
you're
out there.
sitting around the wood, getting a lot of smoke. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But well, again, we're creating places that people have memories, and so just there's a lot of people that want to go into their backyard, where we used to drive 12 hours to go to Colorado to light a fire in the woods and have s'mores. They want to go out in their backyard and do that every night or every weekend. And so we've created spaces that they don't have to travel. They just get to step into their backyard and enjoy these spaces, that they can just, instead of going to some resort, far away, and have a great expense. And so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that fire is.
I think we say vacation in your own backyard, right?
Oh, yeah.
100%. So, did COVID change your business a lot?
Did COVID change our business? Initially, it did. For the first few weeks, the city had kind of shut us down.
Oh, that's right. California got shut down.
California, they're like, no work, stop, everything. And so they shut us completely down, and it was a little terrifying, thinking, well, what are we going to do? And then they allowed us to go back to work. And so we just had some rules to follow. And we set up cameras in each backyard, so we had communication with our clients while we build, where we weren't talking to them face to face anymore, but we could communicate in emails and communicate what was going on with the project. We looked at all of the ways that we build our jobs and improved the communication. So we set up 26 emails that go out at each phase of construction of the project. And where I might, before COVID, have sat down with the client and said, so now we're going to excavate, and here's what it's going to look like. We now have an email that's got a project tracker on the bottom. It says, here's where you are, and we're going to dig the pool, and it's going to look like this. And we made a special effort to make sure that each of the guys that was working there was introduced in that email. So here's your excavator. He lives 15 miles from you. He's got 3 dogs and 2 kids, and loves his dogs more than he does his kids. And here's his, he's been married for 10 years. Whatever. We just kind of tell a little bit about the guy. Right. And he's been with our company for 10 years or what have you. And that's what they're going to do. And so we introduced each foreman at each stage of construction and showed them pictures of what their yard's going to look like through the process. And we had some fun with it, and that worked out well. We were busy during COVID. We were running at about 40% more volume than typical for us. And I shut it down at that point. We started a waiting list. And I think as a contractor, I'm sure you're aware, I do a lot of construction defect expert witness work. And so when somebody, I've done that for about 15 years now, and when there's a lawsuit filed, I'll be called in to evaluate what went wrong, what the cost to correct it is, how it happened. And, I wanted to be careful because I've seen a lot of contractors grow too fast, take on too much work, and then end up hurting their reputation, making mistakes. And there's a certain part of there's a certain amount of volume you can handle before you start to get wheel wobble.
Right.
And when you start to get that wheel wobble, if you don't jump in there and slow it down, you're going to crash. And so we started a wait list, and we had, I think a backlog higher than we typically carry. And so we started a waiting list, and we just turned down work. And that's hard to do when you spend, your whole career building business, to turn away work. But if you don't, it can cost you in the end.
Yeah. There were people that, they crashed and burned because they couldn't handle it. It was something that no one prepared for too much.
Right. And they were starting work with the same assumption that they could get the materials as quickly as they used to and that sort of thing, and you just couldn't.
Yeah.
And so right now, my expert witness practice, I'm getting a call every single day from another attorney. There are so many projects out there that are starting to fall apart now. And it's just a result of inadequate supervision at the time, counting on subs they hadn't worked on with before, assuming they were doing the work right. And you can't do that. I always say you've got to inspect what you expect. And if you didn't get a chance to see it, you can't go to the next step until you make sure it's been inspected.
Yeah. Well, there was a whole lot of people that are like, oh, I can get rich building pools. So let's just go, all you got to do is line the subcontractors up and, it builds itself.
Well, we saw a lot of guys start doing that, service guys that were familiar with it. And I was writing up a case earlier today, and it's a qualified pool builder. They were stretched thin, and it hadn't really kept up to date maybe on the waterproofing practices. And they were trying to do some things with cast concrete that they weren't familiar with, or at least their sub wasn't.
Right.
And they poured 500 linear feet of stairs that were supposed to have LED channels in them without leaving any room for the channels. And so
It doesn't work
how do you go back and fix that?
That's pretty hard to do.
Yeah, so stuff like that, and the waterproofing that was done, inadequately. One of the things that frustrates me about California, and this isn't the case everywhere. I know some parts of the country you have to be licensed, and some parts of the country you don't. Well, in California, you do need a license to build a swimming pool. But once you get your license, you're not required to have any continued education. So you can have your license, I got mine 35 years ago, and not take another class or take another test, and you just pay your renewal fees every year, and that's it. Well, we've had a lot of things change in our
35
industry over the
years,
last 35 years.
just a few.
And big improvements in waterproofing, but different techniques with how we cast concrete and that sort of thing. And a lot of these guys are just not aware of it.
Yeah.
And it's not like that on the East Coast. It's interesting. I've got buddies on the East Coast, and they have continued education requirements.
Correct.
And so every year they're in the classes because they need to be there. But there's also camaraderie that builds around the builders, and they help each other out when they need to. And we just don't get that same vibe on the West Coast.
Yeah. The Eastern show is a huge show because of the state requirements that furthering education. So
I'll tell you a funny story about that. That's the NESPA show, right?
yes.
So the first time I got hired to speak at the NESPA show, I was going out there to do 3 seminars. I'd never been there before. I'm going back about 10 years. I'm from California. I don't even have clothes for the snow,
Atlantic City can be brutal that time of year.
Snow is like knee high, right? And I had to go earlier before the shuttles were running to get prepared for class, And I jump into a cab and they pick me up at the hotel for where the show is. Everybody from the show is staying. And he says, where are you off to? I go, I'm going to the pool show. He goes, oh, yeah, I know where that is. He drops me off in this parking lot at the back of this hotel where they have in the center of the hotel, they have a strip club called the Pool Show. And they have topless girls that, I don't know, pass out drinks or whatever around a swimming pool at the hotel. And I think, it wasn't open at 7 a.m. Otherwise I would have been late for my seminar.
Yeah.
But like not this pool show, like the real pool show. I ended up making it, but I was soaking wet from knees down, walking through the snow, dragging my rolling bag, unprepared.
Yeah, I've taught there a couple times, and the last time we were there, it was snowing on the beach. My wife was like, "I don't think I've ever seen snow on the ocean." I was like, "Yeah, well, here you go."
It's beautiful to see.
Yeah, so it's just that, and it's always a cold time of the year in January but that's the advantage is those guys are usually doing something else because their pool side of the business is shut down, but they all show up for furthering education. So If you were a new designer in the industry, what would your recommendations be for a person to get the knowledge that they need over time?
First thing I would say is get involved with the associations in our industry, the PHTA, Pool and Hot Tub Alliance, or Pool and Spa, California Pool and Spa Association. Go to the shows so that you get the education about the fundamentals. But design involves more than just our industry. Design is looking at architecture, traveling, seeing different architects and designers over the years. I've always, found travel to be really inspirational for me. One of my favorite trips was going to Barcelona and looking at Gaudi's work and seeing a lot of the things that he created, because I'm a ceramics guy, right? And the work that he did, where it's a term we kind of consider to be outlandish, right, in the U.S., and he wasn't well received in his time. But I like a lot of his work, and there are different architects that I've admired over the years, and I think that may not be specific to pools, but it comes into play when you're working out different ideas on how you can do it. Advice I would have, one of the things would be careful not to do just one style. You and I were talking earlier about how things have changed over the years.
Oh, yeah.
And it's important to get into the client's head and I think to match the architectural style of that home, right? But be careful of trends. Like, you just don't want to do only this style. And it's kind of like being an actor. And you don't want to get typecast where that's all you do. You want to be able to change your performance for the role. And if the role is, this is a modern farmhouse house, great. This is a tropical backyard, great. This is an English garden. I like to be able to design those different styles for different people in different yards. I hate doing the same thing over and over again. I don't like it at all.
Right.
It's done it once, there's no reason to do it again. I have a client I'm working with right now, and she really, really likes a job we did around the corner from her in the neighborhood. And she just wants to look just like that. Yeah. It's like, I can't do that. I've already done that, and it's in the same neighborhood. And we keep trying different designs and different concepts, and we just come back to, she just wants it like that. So it's a compliment, but at the same time, I don't like to paint the same painting. I want to do something different.
Right. It's so hard because some people can't picture things, and even with 3D modeling, some people don't get it. So they want. I had one client that was a similar type situation, but she was wealthy, and she was just like, "Okay, build it and let me see if I like it." And then she'd be like, "No, that's not quite it. Tear that down. Let's try this over here." And we would 3D model it and show her. And anyway, the superintendent wanted to kill me. But they paid for everything, but it was just that the job took forever to build. And this was thank goodness a long time ago. It was actually back in the recession in 2010. So the company was like, "Hey, if that's what she wants to do, then great.
We'll build it twice.
we'll tear it down and build another one." Anyway, but yeah.
The 3D modeling has gotten better, so we're able to help that client that can't visualize, but I don't like it. I used to do all my drawings. You can see behind me, all my drawings used to be done by hand.
Yeah.
And it would be a tree and a kind of coping and a sort of patio, but it didn't define exactly that. And when clients look at something that is a red brick coping with a flagstone patio with this particular tree, if there's something about that they don't like, they have trouble getting visually past that.
Right.
I like that it's more generic. I like the way our drawings used to be when it was the essence of a tree.
Right.
What tree is it? I don't know. It's a shade tree.
It's a
tree.
Right.
But now they want to see the purple color and this and that. I had a customer in here last week, and she wants the trees changed to match the actual trees that we've selected now for her yard. And some of them I have and some of them I don't. But why? And she wants it, so we're going to do it. But it's frustrating for me. I don't like how precise the 3D stuff is now. And of course, you're not showing it how it's going to be when it's delivered. That tree's going to be this tall when we start.
Right. We got into some things recently where somebody was like, well, I mean, it clearly states this is conceptual drawings only. This is not what you're getting. I mean, on our documents, but they were like, I think so. Now when we do our drawings, we take all the plant material out so they can, that wasn't included. This was, that type thing. We took the furniture out. We take all the things out. Wow, I thought I was getting, So it's got to the point where I include ledge loungers on all my projects because they got to the point where they're like, well, I wanted you to pick what was best for you. Well, you mean you didn't include them? And it's like, well, no, because there's several different ones you could pick. Anyway, now we just include it. So we can change it.
I had a client, one time I called up and I said, hey, I'm going to be in the neighborhood tomorrow. Is it cool if I swing by and pick up a check? We're done. And he says, well, you're not finished yet. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were all done. He says, you're going to know. Where's my hat? I said, well, pardon me? He says, well, in all the drawings and the perspectives, I'm wearing a chef's hat at the barbecue. Where's my hat? I said, you're seriously holding back $30,000 because you don't have a hat?
That's wild.
He says, yes. I said, I'm going to be there tomorrow and I'm bringing you a hat. And Mike, every single project we do since that time, and that was 10 years ago, we give everyone a hat. Here's the barbecue hat. We don't include the barbecue, that we charge extra for, but the hat you get for free.
The hat, but you put a hat on the person too in the graphics.
Yeah, we do. We try to make them look like, hey, they're special. They're the chef.
Yeah.
I found when we used to draw them by hand, the ladies we'd go to do our HGTV presentation where we flip the board over and show them the reveal, and they'll say, "Oh my God, you really think I'm that fat?" So we changed all the drawings. I had a draftsman with me at the time too, and say, okay, all the women are really thin waist, perky breasts, big smiles, walking tall. The men are muscular, trim waist. Give them a six-pack. It doesn't matter whether it's real or not. That's what you're doing, because we were just drawing characters. We're never actually drawing the real people.
Right? No.
But I think that's next, Mike. I think next phase for our 3D modeling is just the client comes in, you take your phone, you scan them up and down, and then they get 3D put into the program, and you can put them in different positions in the backyard.
Yeah. I don't, Noah's probably got that in his plans with Structure Studios. It's coming,
I'm sure he does.
Coming soon.
And, for only a few dollars more, you can have their actual voice. That you can have say whatever you want as they walk through the yard. Wow, this is a beautiful design.
Oh, awesome.
Are you guys using AI in any of your stuff at this time?
We are not
No.
yet. Are you?
We are starting to. We're starting to use it mostly as mostly for social media, for voiceovers and things like that, and creating images for presentations. Or creating a special, like we like to name all of our jobs.
Right.
I name every one of my projects, and usually some kind of whimsical dad joke sort of name, but we name every project. And so now we've got graphics that go along with that too, that we're using AI to create. So we're having some fun with it.
Oh, well, that's what it's all about. It's having some fun.
I'm wondering, how do you involve the homeowners in the design process? Because every designer we've talked to kind of varies. And you've kind of talked about it a little bit, but do you want to on the first meeting, sit with them in their home, understand what they like, what kind of car they drive, what kind of clothes they wear, stuff like that, or is it different? I don't know.
So the initial intake is the most important part of the process.
Yeah.
I have a 6-page design questionnaire that I go through. And I sit down with the client and I go, look, this is our chance to get to know each other. I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. Some of them you might feel uncomfortable or think they're a little personal, but it helps me get to know you. And then I want you to feel comfortable asking me anything you want about anything, because this is a relationship that goes on for years, right? By design process, the permit process, the build, and then the afterwards. I mean, hopefully you're creating a friend for a lifetime, right? Because you want to be remembered as the person that helped create those family memories that lasted year after year after year after year. And I really enjoy that part of it. I don't do any commercial work whatsoever. Everything I do is 100% residential, and that's by choice because I like working with the people.
Yeah.
And there's a type of hypnosis, since you asked, called neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP. And therapists use NLP to help get to know their clients quickly, their patients, and how to bond and build rapport quickly through NLP. And NLP basically says that we all have a preference of how we like to take in information. We're either more visual, or we're more auditory, or we're more kinesthetic. Some people need to hear it, some people need to see it, some people need to touch it. And when you can figure out what that client is while you're talking to them, you can use their same preference language to respond back to them, use the same words that they use, and that builds rapport very quickly and helps you get to know them better and deeper through the design process. I'll give you a great example of how this works. One of the mistakes that pool salespeople make is they try to sell the benefits of a pool. But the person that you're talking to may not want a pool for the benefits. They may want the pool to solve a pain, okay? I had a client, I was going through my design questionnaire. So why do you want a swimming pool? And she's telling me she wants a swimming pool. So why do you want one? I let the client sell me on what they want. Why? And I don't push them on the benefits. So why do you want to swim? Why? I didn't have a pool growing up. So no, well, how'd you learn to swim? Oh, this kid across the street had a pool, Sally, and I used to go to her house and swim there. I said, oh, so you would swim over at Sally's? Well, not all the time. Sometimes she'd have parties and I didn't get invited. And so I see. So how'd you feel about that? Well, I hate that bitch, Sally. And I'm going to build for you a pool much better than Sally's pool ever was. And you can post it on Facebook and stick it to Sally. And now that's really what I want. But you have to get very close to the client to get down to that level of understanding the real reason behind why they're choosing to put in this yard. It really was about, for her, a childhood, something from her childhood that she didn't feel good about that she wanted to fix. And so she's always wanted a pool. And so there are a lot of people with lots of different reasons for why they want our products. And don't assume that get to know the client and find out what's really all about.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because I've heard the concept of like, don't sell the pool, sell the experience. But I haven't heard it like that. Like that's the psychological aspect to it's very interesting.
Well, yeah, they talk a lot about selling the sizzle and not the pool, right?
Yeah.
And pools are, boy, you got to maintain them, and they cost money to build, and you're not going to swim in it anyway. So, you certainly don't want to talk too much about that. You never want to talk about pumps and filters and equipment because that's not sexy, and nobody cares what size filter you're going to put on their pool. But understanding the entertaining value and understanding what they want and using the same words they use. This is kind of key. I've seen our pool industry guys make mistakes on this a lot. When I'm talking to a client, I say, oh, so do you want something for shade? I don't say, do you want a patio cover or do you want a pergola or do you want a pavilion or anything? Because it gets them confused. I just say, is there something you're looking for shade? And they go, yeah, I want one of those, pergolas. Is that how you pronounce it? And I'm always like, pergola, that works for me. Pergola, pergola, call it whatever you want, shade structure, I get it. I saw one person in our industry, I went out with them on a sales call, and the client was asking, or potential client, I'll say, asking him for a jacuzzi. They want to make sure that their pool has a jacuzzi with it. And he said, jacuzzi is a brand name. What you mean is a hot tub. And he made the client feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
It was really just, and I just, oh no, you're not selling a jacuzzi today. And he didn't. Well, I was just there observing, but it really is, use the words that the people use. Part of the purpose of the design questionnaire is if somebody thinks they want a modern backyard, but you really understand from listening to them between the words, they're looking for something a little bit more contemporary, but not necessarily modern. Or when they say, I want something modern, I said, what does that mean to you? I want lots of fruit trees and palm trees. Okay, nothing to do with modern. They want what they want, but they're just trying to put a name to it.
Right.
So I always try to verify whatever you're saying. I ask more questions and I dig deeper so I can really understand what the client's after. And I treat every design consultation the same. My goal is to make a friend. I might sell a project if it's a good project for me. I've been on lots of calls where they weren't good projects for my company. I had no interest in really doing that job. They didn't have the budget, they didn't have the mindset or what have you. But I made a friend. And they might have somebody down the road that they'll recommend me to that is a better fit. Not every job is a job you should get. And your next job always comes from your last job. So be very careful when times are tough and you take on a project that's a lower budget or half the job you would normally do, because your next job will be that same job. Someone will see that's the work you do, and they'll hire you for the same thing. Once you elevate to your craft to a certain level, that's where you stay, you work there, and you can't take on work that's not to that level because your next job will come from your last job.
Totally agree with that. So, and it's hard because sometimes you want to help everybody, but you don't have the time and effort to do that. But that's you pick the niche that you enjoy the working in, and if you do that, then you'll love what you do all the time. So anyway, kind of fun.
Yeah, that's no.
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I didn't even go. But that's no hate to like small lots, because there's some small lots out there that'll cram so much stuff in there, which we've seen lately.
Well, we still have fun designing those projects regardless of size. So anyway,
it's much more challenging to design a smaller lot space than it is a larger lot.
Yes.
Yeah, ergonomics come into play, and every inch counts. Every foot, how people go through and traffic. I think the first thing I do anytime I set up a plot map, I'm looking at the lot. I'm looking at the doors and the windows and the views, and I'm making sure that I've got flow through the yard and I can see the things I want to see from the windows that are important to see. And then the pieces just fall into place, right? But sometimes you have a client where they go, I want a television and I want a swim up bar and I want a big outdoor kitchen and a fireplace, and I definitely need a big green egg, and I want to have a fire feature in the pool, and I want to have a waterfall, and I want to have, and you're like, are we looking at the same space here? Because there's no way that all that's fitting in this yard. And I've said that, and the client's like, I've seen your work, you'll figure it out. And sometimes you just have to figure a way to make it work.
Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't.
Right. But don't you agree that I really enjoy being challenged? Not in my opinions. My opinions are right every time. I tell my wife this, but I do like being challenged with, okay, here's something that we haven't quite done before, but I know how I can do something similar to accomplish that and look at it from a different way. And that I do enjoy.
All right. Well, who wants to do the same thing over and over again? So that's where, difficult projects is, I know there are designers that are like, I can look at their work and I can be like, oh, that's a so-and-so style, and here's the elements that you have on it, and they're always that way. And some people love that, and they love creating their personal stamp and style on it. So, and they do sometimes beautiful work. But, to me, I tell my clients, I've never done two projects the same in 35 years. And that's the fun of my job. That's the fun is
I agree.
Here's your yard. It's different. Here's your house. It's different. and what you want is certainly different than what the neighbors wanted. So let's have fun and figure out your paradise here. So anyway,
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of companies in our industry that specialize in what we might call cookie cutter projects. And hey, if that's what people want to buy, great for them, right?
right.
I think it's a lot more lucrative to do the same thing over and over again. Your crew knows what to do, you know how to price it, you know what it's going to take, you know how long it's going to be.
Right.
There's no surprises. Everybody's happy at the end. It's exactly what they thought it would be. But for you and I, that's not where we reside. That's not the fun of the job.
That's not my niche. So,
Yeah.
but and like I said, there are different people that do different things, and that's the fun of this job is in this industry is you can find your niche. It's a very, very, very diverse industry, and there's all kinds of things that you can do with it. So it's fun in that aspect with what we get to create with water and all the stuff around it.
For sure. And it's not just I would like to see our pool industry work more closely with the landscape industry and soften up some of this hardscape.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of the work that I see out there is really, really concrete heavy, and there's so much a little greenery can do to change the feel of a space and cool the temperatures of the space and give you opportunities for lighting and all those things that we just don't. It's a shame. I think our industries need to get more involved together.
Oh,
landscaping and pools.
And I mean that I started in the landscaping side and then moved over into the pool side because I got tired of the pool guy putting the pool in the center of the yard, and then they want an outdoor kitchen and they wanted an arbor and they wanted all these things, and I'm like, well, if they had just slid this pool over 5 feet farther to one side, then all these things would have fit. But right now,
right,
we're pigeonholed in here. So it was to control the process. I moved up the food chain anyway. And, but yes, and all clients are different on how much landscaping they want. But it's something that totally makes a huge difference on projects, especially on the ones that you look back on 3 and 4 years later and the landscaping has got to mature and you can see the true design intent that's there. The screening does its job and the focal points are there, and the softening of the, foundation of the house, and, all the things that take place with landscaping over time. That's the only problem is it does take time for that piece to develop.
For sure. And a little bit of fertilizer and some love and attention too, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I see in our industry that I think is really underrated is outdoor sound. Placing speakers throughout the garden. And when you go to any resort or you're at a fancy restaurant or even just shopping, they control the mood with sound.
Yeah.
And when I see sound used in backyards, I see a lot of times people just put 2 big speakers at the back patio and blast the backyard. And that's terrible because we can't have a conversation when that's going on. I prefer to use multiple speakers throughout the garden. And they now have some great outdoor subwoofers and things like this that you can use to actually get some vibration in the backyard.
Yeah. And a lot of them are like rocks, so they like blend in too to the design. I've seen a couple of those at the shows. I love them. They're really cool.
There is a large variety that's available now of different things. But yes, again, you're creating an ambiance, and music is huge in that aspect of the space. And I have some clients that when I talk to them, sound is important. And so they don't want the water features for the sound. They want music. And so that's something that is important to understand too. With water features, you can create some things that have obnoxious sounds that may look cool, but they sound horrible. So it's something we discuss all the time, is the aspect of what they're trying to create and what the end result's going to be, because sometimes it's not what they anticipated. But I've had a number of clients that are like, I don't need a water feature for sound at all, because the music's what's more important to us. So incorporating speakers, and we work with that a lot, especially in the outdoor living spaces and structures that we're doing.
I love to sing while I'm driving, but for some reason only when I'm in reverse. I think I'm actually a backup singer. Sorry.
So
I couldn't help myself.
No.
You're talking about water features and sound, and I built a water feature. The house had this kind of really cool alcove to it, right, where like an atrium type thing, the three parts of the house wrapped around the patio.
Right.
And at the end of that, I put this beautiful outdoor fireplace, and I had these two large scupper pots spilling over into basins on either side of that. And when you walked into the house, I mean, it looked really cool,
right,
but it sounded like two giants urinating in oversized toilets. Just you walk right into the house, and it was horrible. It sounded like an airport bathroom. And I tried more water pressure. That didn't work. I slowed down the water. That didn't work. It was the worst sounding feature I'd ever done. And I was struggling with a solution. And what we ended up doing is taking a copper screen we built and putting it on legs in the basin. So the water would hit the screen first and then splash into the water. And it ended up sounding like rain sticks. And it went from being this horribly obnoxious urinal to this very soothing Zen water feature, and the whole house sounded wonderful. So sound is an important part of any water feature you build.
100%. So one of the things that we have on the show is a segment that we call Poolside True Crime. And this is cases where something's happened and it was like, I can't believe that happened to somebody. That's a real crime. And you have a whole class you've taught on bloopers and all kinds of things like that. So I thought you might have one or two that you could share with us where, this would really help a homeowner to think about something before they did something that didn't turn out as well.
Well, I don't want to scare away homeowners from working with contractors, Mike. I'll tell you, I have a seminar I do called Builders, Bloopers, and Blunders, and I update it every year with the most common defects that I've seen over the past 18 months. And unfortunately, as an industry, we do make some of the same mistakes over and over again, which is frustrating because the information is there.
Right.
Read the book or take the seminar or pay attention to, podcasts like this that you can learn from. But one of my favorite cases was a project that we ended up naming "Whose Fault Is It Anyway?" All right, and the pool was a complete failure. It's a cracked pool, doesn't hold water, it's broken. But now you're looking at the body and you're trying to figure out whose fault was it.
Right.
Okay. And what had happened in this property is it was a downslope front yard, and it was a house flipper that bought the house. Okay. And he put up a retaining wall and he backfilled the soil so it was level. Not a permitted retaining wall, not a properly compacted backfill, no hydrostatic drains, no French drain, nothing.
Oh, he was from Texas.
Probably. The pool guy shows up, he sees a level piece of land, and he puts a pool going into that space.
Right.
He doesn't do any soils work, and the excavator digs the pool, and he's in two different kinds of soil, right? Part of it's the soil that's been there for 10, 15 years or longer, and the other part was put there 2 years ago. And so he's in differential soils. The pool contractor, his plan that he got permitted, he didn't show any of the decking around it. But this guy who was doing the steel says that's how all his plans look. So he assumed that there was no decking, or that there was decking around the pool. So he built a deck detail with 3 bars of steel instead of what we call a no deck detail, which has 6 bars of steel. So he had 50% of the steel in it. So the steel was completely inadequate for the pool. The gunite contractor came in and he shot the pool, but nobody lived at the house, and the contractor didn't make any plans for watering it. And gunite, it was a dry mix shoot, so it was just sand and cement. Without somebody to hydrate it for the first 10 days, it never achieved strength. So the concrete ended up testing at about 1,200 psi.
Ooh.
Broke apart like chocolate chip cookies in your hand, crumbled. The pool gets plastered, and the tile work is glass tile, but it's not waterproofed first. So water's leaking in through the back of the tile, and it's a mesh tile, and they don't have adequate coverage behind it. And so clearly the whole problem is the tile guy's fault. Except that the gunite failed completely, so it's the gunite guy's fault, except for there's half the amount of rebar that's supposed to be in it, so it's obviously the rebar guy's fault.
Mm-hmm.
But then the excavator was in 50% one kind of soil, and the other kind didn't point out to anybody else, so it's obviously his fault that the pool cracked. And then the pool contractor himself didn't have adequate pool plans to show that it was a no-deck detail, so it would be built properly in the first place, and he wasn't there at each step. So it was a total catastrophe. It all had to be completely removed and replaced with a new pool. And, but whose fault?
Everybody.
Yeah. So it's the kind of thing that can go wrong if you don't inspect what you expect, right? And you have to be there to supervise your projects as you go. I have, at my company, the Green Scene, we've got 55 employees. We build between $10 to $12 million a year in exterior home improvements. And I require an appointment with the client every 2 weeks on the job site. Okay. Most of the time, quite frankly, we're drinking wine and drinking scotch. We're not doing too much work. But I set up these appointments automatically every 2 weeks because they're an hour piece, and they block out time on my calendar, and it becomes a governor for how much work I can take on. Right. If I don't have a time to see a new client because I'm busy meeting my existing clients, then that's the volume I can handle personally. And as soon as that starts to go away and you don't meet with the clients, that wheel wobble steps in and there's things that fall apart. But I found probably half the time I'm on a call where I'm just meeting with the client to touch base and verify the layout, or sometimes you make an adjustment in the field, and you look from this window, if it was a foot this way, it would look better. You can make those changes. But I almost always come back with some kind of scope change, something we didn't discuss before. And the customer is now comfortable and confident in our work, and they hit what we call the might as well syndrome. Gosh, we got you guys here. You're doing such a great job. We might as well add those bigger trees, add the barbecue, add the patio cover, add the fire feature, add the fancier lighting, add the mist system, add the outdoor sound, add those things because you're here already, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. And that's how you grow your business. And so those personal relationships and that start with the design questionnaire, making a new friend, being there all the way through the process, supervising the jobs as you go, and being at the end of the job for the after party to celebrate what you guys have been through, because it's been dirty, messy, noisy, life invasive, dusty, right? You got through it. Let's hug it out. And they get to go enjoy that space, and hopefully you've made a friend forever.
It's a great process to go through. So I
just played pickleball with one of my clients last weekend. We built a pickleball court for him. And during my design questionnaire, he says, "Oh, I want a pickleball court." I said, "Oh, do you play?" He's like, "No, I don't play." I said, "Have you ever played pickleball?" "No." So I'm not building you a pickleball court if you've never played pickleball. He's like, "No, it's very popular. It's going to be very popular. I want one." I don't care. If you've never played pickleball, I'm not building you a pickleball court, because if you go out there and you don't like it, now forever you're looking out at it and you've got animosity towards me.
And it's a big thing. It's not a little thing.
It is a big thing. Yeah. And he says, okay. So you take some lessons. I give him the name of a guy. You take the lessons, and if you like the pickleball, we'll build you the pickleball court. And we ended up building it, and they love it, and it's a lot of fun. And we just got them on Etsy. We were able to order a metal cutout of their family name and, pickleball club.
Oh, that's cool.
They're thrilled.
As you said, the relationships that you build, if you understand somebody, you don't have to sell them, because you're providing what they're wanting and you understand them. I mean, that's the fun part about the design process. People a lot of times will comment, well, how in the world did you figure this out for me? And it's because you ask the questions and you listen and you understand, even what they can't express in words, because of our experience in doing this over years. That you can translate that into what their oasis, paradise, resort, whatever you want to call it, is going to be. And, kudos to your pickleball champion. So,
hey, yeah, I built I was interviewing the client, and I really just got the sense that they were just alcoholics that love their martinis, and that's all. And we go to build the project, and I bring out this concept, and I originally came up with it almost as a joke. I had two concepts, concept A and B, and concept A was the Spaza martini glass, right? You remember the job?
Yes, I do.
Spaza martini glass with a 12-foot swim up bar, and we plumbed it so it had jets that pulsated, or you could flip a valve and it rotated and create a whirlpool in the spa. So you had a choice of shaken or stirred in the martini glass, right? And we did the whole thing in 1x1 pearlescent tiles. It was really cool. I was kidding when I threw it out there initially, and they loved it. I never even showed them the second concept. And so we ended up building this martini spa, and I think it was featured on HGTV or what have you in one of our shows.
It was. I remember that. It was classic.
I stole one of their martini glasses from them and created a mold from it and cast it, and I made custom tiles for the backsplash of their barbecue that matched their martini glass set. And they had their kids come over to my ceramic studio in my garage and paint their own tiles that we used in the backsplash. A lot of fun. One thing that I admire about your work, Mike, and your demeanor is that you want to have fun. You want to have a good time with it, right? And there's so many guys that are just out hustling and worried about getting the business and trying to sell. And it's like, that's not going to give you gratification over time. When I go back and I look at these pictures, and it's like this walk down this old memory lane, and I love, oh my God, that was so cool. I don't remember where I came up with the idea for it necessarily, but I'm glad I did, and it was a fun thing to build.
Right.
And I'm grateful to the clients that gave me the opportunity, that had the trust in me to allow me to build it, because it was a lot of money, right?
Oh yeah. Great thing that we get to do that. So the clients make it all possible. And that's the relationships you build. They keep coming back. So have you done repeat clients that have come back and done more projects with you?
I have. Sure. You build the one project sometimes it's crazy. Like you just finished the job and 6 months later they're calling you. You're not going to believe it, but we're moving and we're going to a different house. Now this time we want they want a different thing that they wanted last time, which is fine because the house is different. But I can't, there's times where we've built something and that client was so specific about which paver it had to be and how the edges had to be cut and how the bevel needed to be and the spacing of this and the color of that and the matching of the tile. And they were so particular. And then 6 months later, they moved on and they're moving into another house and they call back and start the whole process over again. I'm not like that. I've been in the same house 33 years.
Right. You've got lots of memories in yours. So I've been in mine 21. So, now and then we think about moving, but no, can't find anything that works as well. So, although we might remodel that pool someday.
Yeah, I've remodeled everything. We try stuff out at my house to see if it works. The first lit barbecue counters and things with fiber optics, we tried that at my house first. It worked, didn't work. We changed it, Some of the early cast concrete countertops were, looked like Fred Flintstone cast them. They were horrible.
Well, that's how we learn, right?
Absolutely.
So,
and then things come back around. I mean, do you remember square edge was so boring. Nobody wanted a square edge. You had to do a bullnose edge or a mantle edge or create some cool details for these cast concrete countertops. And now I have clients going, well, no, we don't want any of that. We just want a square edge.
Yeah.
Well, we remember how to do that.
Yeah, it's been done before. So it's funny because I tell people the pendulum always swings. You're going to see things that if you're in the industry long enough, and we have been, we've seen things change in styles. And one of the things we encouraged with the $1 Million Pool Challenge this last year was, we told people that they shouldn't be designing. The client wanted something other than a rectangle, because a lot of the people that have been in the industry 5 or 6 years, all they know how to draw is a rectangle.
Right.
And I'm like, the pendulum is starting to swing, and people are wanting things other than just a rectangular pool. But that's the fun, as stuff comes and goes, and we get to interpret it in different ways and create
these trends go in cycles for sure. One of the things that I try to encourage the designers that work with me is you can't think about, you're talking to this couple or talking to your client now, and they're telling you about their life today, but you've got to think about their life for the next 10 years, right? Because if they're going to be in this home for 10 to 15 years, how is this design going to service that client 15 years from now or 10 years from now? Their kids are 20. Well, guess what? They're going to be married and they're going to have grandkids. And if you aren't the grandparents with the better backyard, they're going to go to the other house. So you better plan on that now, right?
Oh, yeah. So it was funny. I made comments about when I built my pool about my grandchildren, and my kids laughed hysterically at me. And now they're wanting to know where some of the features I would said that would come for the grandchildren are going to show up.
Yeah. Time to remodel the pool. Let me know if I can help you out.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the help. So, any last things you would encourage people or thoughts that we haven't talked about that you'd love to share?
I see a lot of young designers. The work that we're building it's relatively permanent. That old saying, it's not set in stone. It doesn't apply to our work. It is set in stone, and it's set in stone. So let's get it right the first time. But that can be a big hurdle for some designers to get over, and they can sit and stare at a drawing and be just stuck in it, and try to just mimic what other people have done and repeat things that they've done in the past, rather than push the envelope and try new things, and because they're afraid, because it's permanent. And I've seen them just sit there for hours stuck with a piece of paper in front of them and a pencil or computer or whatever. And I like to just let it flow, Sometimes I find the computer to be a hindrance when I'm just brainstorming. So I'll just print out the plot map, grab a glass of scotch or red wine or both, and, doodle out some ideas and concepts and just let it flow. And then hone it, and then put it in 3D and whatever and present it. But don't get stuck on it having to be perfect the first time. When I was in drafting classes and drawing and whatever else, they did this thing called 2-minute drawings, where you had to sit down with a stack of paper and you drew for 2 minutes and new page, 2 minutes, new page, 2 minutes, and you had to get as quick at drawing as you could, but you weren't allowed to spend more than 2 minutes on drawing, and it forced you to get out of worrying about it. What are you going to do? Waste some paper and a pencil? Who cares? Make some drawings, give it some different ideas, look at it a few different ways, show the client some different options, have fun with it.
100% on that. So inspiration. So you mentioned travel, you mentioned one place. Is travel the biggest inspiration you draw from? It
is for me. I'll give you an example. We went to Bali, and my wife and I, we spent 3 weeks traveling across the country, and part of it is very tropical, and part of it's kind of beachy, and part of it is very foresty, and we were in all these 3 different areas. And a year or 2 later, I'm sitting with a client, and they said, well, what we're really looking for is this vibe we had on vacation. I don't know if you ever heard of the place, nobody has, but Bali. I said, oh, a mood is a mood. And you're like, you've been there? So yeah, I know exactly what you're after. And I drew it out, and that was it. We were just done. And there was a bonding and a connection because I understood where they'd been. I understood the vibe that they were after, and I knew the plants, right?
Right.
And which ones would grow in our area and which ones wouldn't. And it really was one of my favorite jobs. And because of we traveled and had been to the same place or even a similar place, there was an immediate connection, and we were able to build that project and mimic that style. So
It's media has provided us so many images of different places in the world today that we can see, but still going there is so much more than seeing something on TV or a picture or those type of things. But, yeah.
Mike, good design is all about how you feel in the space, right? And sometimes people can't even explain why they feel a certain way. I'm doing a drawing sometimes, and I can't necessarily explain to you why this is the right way to go, but it is for this space. This is the way we want to do it. And I've learned to trust that gut. If I feel like this is the way and this is it, that's the way. And I've been called stubborn before. You ever had a client call you stubborn? They want to do something and you're like, oh, I don't know, it doesn't feel right. I don't like that idea. Like, no, but it's my house and I really want to do it. Like, yeah, no, I don't want to build that. But it's my house and I'm writing the check, so that's what we're going to do. No. I told a customer recently that I can't do what she's asked me to do. I couldn't put a green scene sign in front of it. I couldn't take a picture of it and put it on my website, and I couldn't be proud of it. Yeah. And so I won't build it.
There's no reason to waste our time.
She was really offended by that. But yeah, I'm a nationally awarded designer. You've hired me to design your yard. Take my recommendations for what they're worth. They're good ideas. Don't hire me and then not listen to what I'm telling you we need to do here. That's pointless. You don't need me there.
Right. I tell people I'm your guide, but there's some things it's like, no, it's just, no, you don't want to do that. You just don't want to go down that. So, but yes, that
can be frustrating at times.
It can, but usually the best thing is to walk away from it versus try to work. If you and the client aren't a fit, it's better to walk away.
That's key.
Both parties.
Not everybody's going to be a match.
Yeah,
and you can't force it.
Yeah,
and when the vibe is there, when it works, you can create magic together.
Right.
And if it's not, okay, it's not awful. There's a reason that there's 31 flavors at the ice cream store.
Yes.
Right. And I've never understood that because coffee ice cream is the best ice cream, and that's the only one flavor that you need to have. But other people like other flavors, I've heard.
Pralines and creams, I got to disagree.
If they're completely out of coffee, I would consider it.
Oh, okay. Well, I might try it sometime. Well, I greatly appreciate you coming on. And you didn't sound like Kermit the Frog at all this time. So
thank you.
I'm glad we waited because you did sound pretty bad a couple weeks ago.
Yep. Well, that stuff's going around.
Yeah. So, well,
I enjoyed being here. It's great to talk with you. We've been friends for well over a decade now. I was looking back at some emails and things, and it's gone on a long time. And there are few designers in our industry that I have as much respect for as I do Mike Farley, and your involvement in the industry too. I like that the guys that are involved and giving back to the industry, and I like being part of that. And it's a pleasure to share the show with you.
Yeah, well, likewise, sir. I've admired your work for a long, long time, and you were volunteer of the year for PHTA this year. So
I work better for free than most people do, apparently.
but
That was a
yes.
nice accolade. I appreciated that.
Yeah, well, it's a great industry, and it's great to give to other people, because somebody gave to me a long time ago and helped me down the road. So I appreciate all the help you're giving people as well. So, well, you and your family have a great holiday season, and we'll look forward to seeing you sometime in 2025.
Same to you and yours.
Thank
I'll
you,
see
sir.
you next year.
Okay, take care.
Well, that was a really fun episode.
Oh yeah, Scott is a great storyteller.
He is.
And he's been around the industry a long, long time. Has a lot of wisdom.
Oh yeah, y'all have a lot of similarities in many ways. It's crazy with the landscape side, the Christmas trees in the beginning.
I didn't know there were that many layers of similarities,
Yeah.
so I knew there was quite a few. But I am older, so I did it first.
You set the trends.
Although I guess when I was 18, I think he was 16, so we probably were working in our Christmas tree lots the very first year at the same time. So.
Yeah.
But a lot of great information for people that are new in the industry to really to think about, and some really good information for homeowners to consider as well in their outdoor space.
Yeah, I really like the insight he has for how he balances like the customer relationship, and especially that first meeting. So yeah, it's really cool.
I always loved talking to him about outdoor kitchens, and he could have talked a lot more about that and gone into a lot more detail. But it's really, he designs really good spaces for people to entertain, and really thinks about all the aspects of that entertainment and what you need to incorporate to make a space work well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I probably don't think about, I mean, he thinks about where the bartender's going to be, where the band's going to be, and a lot of these things for larger entertainment groups, which I don't sometimes think about all that space as well.
It was funny because there was a point in the episode which will be cut out, but there was a pause where you're looking at me like to ask a question, but I was just quiet because I was trying to absorb all this information. Because when we started talking about the flow of everything, I never thought about like someone getting a drink and then backing up, because I've had that experience at like at a bar before where it's like crowded and it's like it's not a great experience. But having that flow, I was like, okay. And he did dig into the weeds a little bit about the outdoor space, so that was cool.
Yeah. Well,
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, everybody. One of the things I really want some input on is we're going to focus on the beginning of the year on health and wellness.
Yeah.
And so if there's particular topics you as an audience would like to hear, especially on health and wellness, I'm going to try to track down a lot of different things. But if there's certain things that really you have interest in, let us know on our social media or on the website, wherever you can give us a comment and just share that information, that'd be helpful. But look forward to the new year.
Y'all have a good one. We'll see you in 2025.
Take care.